And a friend of mine invited me to a blind tasting. And it was a tutored tasting, so we saw all the bottles. And then they took the same bottles, mixed them all up, and put them back. There were 12 bottles with a bunch of wine lovers, but the same bottles. I was the only one that got them all right. And that was when I realized that I had a skill that I could nurture. Okay.
Thank you. He's the server today.
Okay.
Okay.
It's recording?
It's still recording.
Oh, okay. Can't say any bad words.
If she gets wrong, you can smack her too.
What,
She
what's
might like
smack?
We don't want that. I've got an idea for me. You put in a different bottle of different wine, just
Yeah.
to keep us honest. So we have to think in the blind tasting, which one is not Sauvignon Blanc?
I think we only brought Sauvignon Blanc.
I got plenty. It's very easy to mix up very dry Riesling with Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc used to be most famous on the Loire, where it is almost always 100% of Sauvignon Blanc, and the great and expensive wines of Sancerre and Puy-Fumé. Typically, the two best Loire appellations for Sauvignon Blanc are bone dry for the most part. Do not see much oak at all. Some do, but not see much oak. Sauvignon Blanc is also very famous in Bordeaux, probably achieving its pinnacle in the Grave, but grown all over Bordeaux and the Entrée-du-Mer and whatever. In Bordeaux, you get light, simple Sauvignons that really are very inexpensive, just over $10, $11, up to very, very expensive Sauvignon Blancs from some of the great properties. In Bordeaux, Sauvignon Blanc is likely to be blended, Semillon, and sometimes with a little bit of Muscat. And a lot of it sees oak. So there will be an oily character to those Sauvignon Blancs. In the New World, Sauvignon Blanc is grown and has been grown. California for a very long time, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, almost everywhere in the world. A real up-and-comer today in quality Sauvignon Blanc from many, many types of climate is Chile. But Sauvignon Blanc is an adaptable grape, does well in many parts of the world. In California, they didn't really, I don't think, like the characteristic of in-your-face Sauvignon Blanc. So they tended to try and make Sauvignon Blanc in a sort of what they perceive to be friendlier style. More melons and figs versus the austere Sauvignon character. So when I'm tasting American Sauvignons, I look usually more for the melons and figs character. New Zealand, which is arguably today the most famous source of quaffable, drinkable and serious Sauvignon Blanc, tends to make a multitude of styles, including oaked styles, but to me quite obvious, and usually a little bit of capsicum, a little bit of green pepper, but some gooseberry, kiwi. The classic descriptor of Sauvignon Blanc, one wag said, it's like a cat peed on a gooseberry bush. So the classic descriptors for Sauvignon Blanc are gooseberries and cat pee. What I look for on Sauvignon is delightful acidity. It is a high acid grape. It's not as high acid as Chenin or Riesling, but it is a high acid grape, and for that reason you can get lovely crispness and life and vibrancy.
아저씨 엄청 잘해. I wrote a lot.
In Greek or in Korean or
In
in
Korean and in English.
English. What we have done here is to keep us honest. We have put one Riesling in here and then Sauvignon Blancs from 5 different places. There's a Sauvignon Blanc from South Africa, one from the Loire, one from Bordeaux, one from California, and one from New Zealand. And the Riesling is from Germany. It is bone dry. So what I suggest we do right now is, because this is a double test for you.
Yeah.
Firstly, they're all Sauvignon Blanc except for one. So can you figure out, is your taste good enough for you to say, these all have a family resemblance, that one stands apart? That would be the first test. Then, once we've done that, then we're going to go through each of the Sauvignons. I'm going to try and identify the country of origin, a bit more difficult. And then when we've done that, we are going to do a tutored tasting. We will go through the wines one by one, and I will explain to you what you should be getting. And then we're going to empty the glasses and refill the glasses with exactly the same wines, but in a different order. And then see how good you are at that. So that tests you in multiple ways, plus improves your blind tasting skills. The most important part of being a good blind taster, which is to develop a taste memory. And this is what gets you to start to develop a taste memory. A taste memory is that ability to taste a wine and say, I've had this before, and go through your brain like a computer and say, that's it.
I totally don't have that.
Well, that's what our job is, to totally help you to get it.
Okay.
Also, when blind tasting, what I always do is first nose the wines and then taste them. Another thing, it doesn't really matter what the shape of the glass is, as long as you use the same shape of glass for every wine. These are my standard tasting glasses. I use these when I'm blind tasting for red or white, because not only are they identical, which is important, but they are a shape I understand. I know I have a sense, after all this time of using these glasses, of the effect of these glasses on the taste of the wine. So I remove immediately two things: distortion of the taste of the wine by using different shaped glasses, and not messing around with my own taste memory by tasting the wine out of different types of glasses on different days. Drinking is a different matter. You drink whatever glass you want. But tasting, I find standardization to be, if not absolutely vital, then very, very important. So Sauvignon Blanc, what you should be looking for on the nose of Sauvignon Blanc is, again, a little bit of that gooseberry character, a little bit of cat urine, I hate to say it, a little bit of capsicum, green pepper, but a very, very small amount. Sometimes there's a little bit of hint of gunpowder. Sometimes that can be a whiff of sulfur dioxide. But Sauvignon Blanc can be very flinty and stony, gravelly. You look for those characteristics. With Riesling, you look for floral, more floral than Sauvignon Blanc, fresh spring flowers, and a hint of gasoline, petrol, which is the Riesling.
Number 3 or 2?
No. Pick one.
Pick one. Try compare those.
Okay.
I
Read your
compare
notes
them.
for number 3 and your notes for number 2.
My note?
Yeah.
Okay, number 2, high acid, gasoline, and Riesling. For number 3, gasoline, high acid, oily, and Riesling. I know that you put just one Riesling, but there were 2 wines that has gasoline.
So I told you that sometimes Riesling fakes you out as Sauvignon Blanc. I agree with you, but I have picked one.
Yeah.
So which is the one? 2 or 3?
Okay, let me smell one more time. Number 3.
I agree.
Yay! High five!
Okay. Number 3 is the Riesling. All right.
And that was my favorite one.
It was my favorite one too.
Yay!
Yeah. Okay, so then, do you have any ideas where any of the others come from?
Number 1 for me is buttery, oily, and it tastes very heavy. You said the Bordeaux used oak, so I thought it's Bordeaux.
You thought that was the Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for number 2, I thought it's Riesling. Number 4, I think it has stone fruit and it has acid. We had the Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand a few days ago. I think it's very similar with that. So it's from New Zealand. And number 5, I think I taste kiwi, a little bit of green pepper. So I think that's from New Zealand too. And
No, we only
There's
have
only got
New
one
Zealand.
from New Zealand.
oh, I think it's floral. But the floral thing is for the Riesling. For number 6, I think it's buttery for me. So it's come from Bordeaux or California.
You did a good job.
Yeah, I did. It's so fun.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
I have always said, blind wine tasting is the most fun you can have with your clothes on.
With my clothes on.
With your clothes on. Taking
Sure.
your clothes off is a different matter.
Yeah, what if I close off and then blind taste?
Now we're talking. So, Now this is the second part of the test,
Okay.
which is, can you recognize what you have already tasted? Put in a different order. They are the identical wines that you already had, just put in a different order, and we took the Riesling out since it was easy for you to tell the Riesling. Tell me what you thought wine number 1 was and why.
For number 1, I think it's Sancerre. It was because it's floral. It has a little bit of oak.
So, typically Sancerre is not oaked.
No!
Yeah. You should not be saying, I thought it was Sancerre because it has some oak. That would not be a correct deduction.
Okay.
It could be a Sancerre with oak, but oak should not lead you to Sancerre. The most serious, the most expensive ones typically tend to be oaked. The Loire, if they do use oak at all, it's very old oak used as a container.
You know what? After you say it doesn't have an oak, the oak is gone. It's a magic.
Yeah. It's very high acid, so it's not Sancerre.
What is it then?
Go back and look at your previous notes. Perhaps there's something very
Okay.
similar, or
Sancerre.
this is the South African one.
No way! I thought
And that,
number 2.
actually makes me, as a South African, quite happy, because I've long believed that outside of, that style of unoaked Sauvignon Blanc, I've long believed that South Africa is right up there with the best of them. A good option for Sancerre if you're going to spend considerably less money.
No, my Africa wine number 3 will be wrong too.
All right, come. Let's see how you did on number 2.
I thought it's New Zealand Cloudy Bay.
Okay, so we
You
don't need
agree?
to talk more about that, right?
Okay.
It's in your face, pungent.
Yeah, New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs are very similar to each other.
I think that Cloudy Bay, I used to be able to tell, as I can with this one, Cloudy Bay almost entirely on the nose. It's so pungent, so in your face. They tamed it for a while, but this is not a tame one. And it's a giveaway in a blind tasting. It's definitely New Zealand and probably Cloudy Bay. There's a little bit of passion fruit there, a little bit of capsicum,
What is capsicum?
green pepper.
Oh, number 3.
Number 3.
I thought it's South Africa, but number 1 was South Africa, so I changed to Sancerre.
Okay, tell me why you thought it was South African and why you now think it's Sancerre and not the others.
Okay, that's a difficult problem. So I thought it was South Africa because it has the lightest taste. I just changed it with the number 1. Now I can smell the floral note. It doesn't smell a lot.
There's a complexity to this wine, and I agree. It's similar to the South African wine. There's a complexity and a smoothness here that the South African wine doesn't have. And you are right. It is the Sancerre. Min!
Let's just fire him.
Yeah, we have to fire his ass.
Number 2.
There we
Pull
go.
it out.
Cloudy Bay.
We drank a lot. 1 mixed up means 2 wrong.
Exactly.
Right?
Number 4.
Number 4 I thought is Clos du Bal because it's the second oakest one.
Okay. And you are right.
Great. I think you're the good teacher.
No, you've got a good palate.
Thank
you just need
you.
to develop it. Now it's coming out. Can you feel with the Californian wine that there's less of the green, gravelly characteristics and more like fruits, like pears
Pears.
and figs?
It's hard to find figs.
There's a hint of sweetness. I agree with you, but maybe a bit of pears, apples,
Okay.
but definitely ripe fruit, whereas most of the others do not have, maybe South Africa a little bit, but not an overt sense of ripe fruit.
Tastes some buttery note in it.
So that would be malolactic fermentation.
Oh, it could be malolactic, not oak.
Well, no, it usually that they put it in oak. It probably saw some malolactic fermentation.
Okay.
All right. So you must know the last one then,
Bordeaux.
Bordeaux. Tell us about number 5. You picked it out as the Bordeaux. Why? You
was
said
the-
because it was the darkest,
Yes.
and that's fair because it was the darkest, and that made it the easiest to pick it. I didn't even have to retaste it. I feel some oak there. I didn't like the balance. I found it bitter. Probably once you've got some oak there, there's a little bit of malolactic fermentation, so you get the buttery character. It's Pessac Leognan, which arguably the focal point for fine Sauvignon Blanc in Bordeaux. As I've gotten older, more and more I'm enjoying unoaked, high acid, minerally white wine, of which Riesling is probably the greatest.
Teach me Riesling next time.
Okay.
Please.
The video today.
It's yours, right?
Yeah.
It was very honored to have a class with the master of the wine. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You are a very, very good student. You have a good palate. The idea being, at every point in time, to get a sense of the most important grapes in the world, how to recognize them from other grapes, to understand the basics. The basics are the most important grapes in the world and the most important styles and regions of those grapes. It requires two things. It does not require an absolutely spectacular palate. The most important thing that it requires is desire, the desire to learn. A lot of people out there, they say, leave me alone. I just want to drink some wine. I don't care what slope it comes from. I don't really care if it went through malolactic or it didn't, if it was saw oak or wooden chips or whatever it might be. And there are other people who were like me when I was young, says, I want to know everything. Slopes, soils, pH of the must, and all of those things related to making, tasting wine. So it all depends on how much of a geek you want to be. People ask me, what does it take to become a master of wine? The answer that I always give them is, you have to care about the kind of things about wine and grapes, enology and viticulture, where normal people look at you, they shake their heads and they say, this guy needs to get a life. If you have that kind of passion about wine, then as long as your palate is not damaged, we can teach you anything.
I was the one who just want to drink. Now I'm here as a wine newbie and I want to escape from wine newbie to the wine savvy. So I'm gonna study today's Sauvignon Blanc class. I love it. And I got one mistake and two wrong.
Don't get too excited about that, because tomorrow you'll get them all wrong.
No.
The key is to understand the process of trying to build a taste memory. You know, you might say to me, well, when will I have that done? You'll never have it done. People say to me, like, how good are you as a blind taster? I say, well, yesterday I had a great experience. I tasted a wine. I placed the wine within 100 yards of where it was grown. I got the vintage correct and the price within $4. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, but then the next one I tasted, I got wrong by $50, 5,000 miles, and I got the grape varieties wrong. That's the world.
If you get jealous, thumbs up and subscribe. Have a great class with the MW. High five.
Thanks.